In an orgy of over-the-topness, it was a politician who made one of the boldest fashion statements at New York's exclusive Met Gala. It's the Democrat lawmaker Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who attended the Met Gala and wore a gown that said "Tax the Rich." The fundraiser is a highlight of the city's social calendar. Ocasio-Cortez says it was an opportunity to speak to the elite about fair taxation. The gown's designer, Aurora James, said it was meant to get people talking.
A lot of these conversations that we have about economic justice usually happen in spaces with working class people. And I think the Congresswoman is not going to ever sacrifice her morals for comfort. And she wanted to make sure that this message was brought into that room and into a group of people who ultimately have to be willing to, be more liberal with their economic values as well.
Morals and comfort at the Met Gala. Catherine Rampell is with us, economics commentator and columnist for the Post. Well, we'll leave the fashion aside because we could talk about that for hours. On the economics of it, it's becoming clear, isn't it, particularly as the House Ways and Means Committee has just brought out the latest version of the bill of the future of social spending in America. It's still a massive bill. This tax the rich, where does it get paid?
Where does it get paid? Well, Biden has said that he's drawing a red line at people making under $400,000, that they will not get a tax increase of any kind. Now, economists would dispute that. They would say that if you're raising the corporate income tax rate, some of the economic incidence of that tax befalls workers, including people who earn under $400,000. There are some other provisions that are supposedly on the table, like a tobacco tax, a nicotine tax that would also be paid by people making under $400,000. But the Democratic Party in general is aiming their firepower at the very wealthy and, of course, corporations.
And in doing so, it begs the question whether it serves its purpose. It's a popular call, but as the New York Times this morning makes clear, if you don't go big and fast, you don't get it passed. And in the past, the Democrats have failed spectacularly at doing this.
Well, there's actually a lot of debate even within the Democratic Party about how much to raise taxes on corporations and on higher earners. There are some tax breaks that disproportionately benefit higher earners, including, for example, Democrats in blue states. High tax states like New York, New Jersey, California are arguing that the cap on the state and local tax deduction, which was put in place by the Trump tax overhaul in 2017, that should be removed. And its primary beneficiaries, as it turns out, happen to be people making over $500,000 or even over $1 million per year. So Democrats are not unified even in this message. They're pitching things like that as a middle-class tax cut, and as the data suggest otherwise.
So what gets passed at the end? We know Manchin, having described AOC as the young lady, much to her distress, we know that he is not going for a vast revamp of the social network. But at the same time, to pay for the infrastructure is going to require the higher taxes. In your experienced view, what will get passed?
I think what will ultimately happen is that Democrats will pay for some but not all of their agenda. In fact, I don't think the entirety of their agenda could be paid for solely by levying higher taxes on the very high income people, as defined by Biden, and corporations. It's just there aren't enough ultra-rich people and mega corporations to sustain that level of spending. So most likely what they will do is they will pay for some of it, not all of it. The budget resolution they've passed has suggested that they can borrow up to $1.75 trillion over the next decade. And I think they'll use some of that borrowing room and maybe use some confusion about the accounting to get this through both the moderates and the progressives in their caucus. How much does it cost? Well, are we talking about it's gross costs or it's net costs? Who's paying the bill? It's a little fuzzy.
Catherine, thank you. I appreciate it, Catherine Rampell, joining me. And I'm well aware that to many of our viewers who have just joined us, thank you, Catherine, you will have been extremely disappointed having heard the introduction to that. You would have hoped for a discussion on the fashion. And we talked about the economics. Well, there you are.